Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this very special edition of the Main Event Talk right here on YouTube. It is Tuesday, December 15th. And I'll tell you something, a lot of things have been happening around the WWE for the past few hours. Everything from what took place last night at WWE RAW to everything that took place over at WWE TLC this past Sunday night on the WWE Network. And I know a lot of people have been wanting to know about what I've been thinking and what I've been, wondering about and everything else like that. I had not seen the pay-per-view, but I have been keeping up with what's been going on and everything else like that. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a detail of what's going on here. Now, first of all, I know that this is the first time in a while that I've done a main event talk, and I've been wanting to do this for quite some time, and I've not had the opportunity because of personal things and everything. And for those of you that have been keeping up with what's been happening with me, let me kind of give you an update on my little accident situation. First of all, I did go ahead. I do have a rented car. I have a rented car for the time being. I have myself a 2016 Chevy Malibu, a very awesome car to drive around there, and it's one of those cars where you almost don't want to get your hands on a car that you're going to try and buy and everything else like that. You'd rather stick with the rented car that you just got, you know. So, anyways, I went ahead and got me a rented car. Almost about tomorrow will be 1 week that I've had the car and everything else like that. And it was just a tremendous car to have and everything else like that. And I'm hoping for the insurance check to come in so that way I can get my hands on another car. Whether it be a Mustang or not, I don't know. I would like it personally to be a Mustang and everything else like that. But nonetheless, the main event is sticking with what he's got and everything else like that. So everything is going according to plan. Now, before the main event decides to talk about TLC and before he talks about everything that took place last night on WWE RAW, I'd like to take a moment and an opportunity to not only talk about something that's a little bit personal. I want to dedicate this to all of the people that used to work for Baker Hughes over in Alice, Texas. Now, most of you guys that have had an opportunity to listen to some of my main event talks know that I used to work over at the Gun Club a long time ago back in the day. And then after the Gun Club, I went ahead and proceeded to work with Baker Hughes for the very first time. It was a very different experience for me. I wanted to try something a little bit different and everything else like that. And that difference became a reality in 2012, where I not only learned everything about the wireline business and everything, but I also learned everything about how to drive an 18-wheeler and everything else like that. And it was just one of the most amazing experiences I've had in my entire life. I worked at Baker Hughes since 2012 of May, and my career with that job or with that company kind of came to an end at around Mother's Day of 2013, almost a year. And this is the first time I'm actually revealing this. I know some people probably know the reason behind it, but just in case, just to kind of give everyone an idea, I had a DWI in 2013, which I had lost my driver's license, or my CDL at the time, and I had to report it over to Baker Hughes to let them know about what was going on. And immediately, once that happened, I was at work for maybe a couple of hours, and then they went ahead and decided that they were going to go ahead and terminate me because of all this. So, I had to report them. I had to let them know about my situation as far as my CDL goes and everything. And of course, they went ahead and terminated me. Now, that's one part of the story that you guys know. The rest, did I ever get my CDL license back? Well, the answer is yes, and the answer is no. There's a couple of stories behind that, which I'll probably mention in another, probably in just a moment. But this opportunity here, after Baker Hughes, I started working for a glass company. And after the whole glass company deal, it's one of those jobs that you're only there just to work. You're not really there just to have fun. And when I was working at the Gun Club, I was working and having fun. And that was always the two main important things to a job. Not only that you go there to earn your money and work it, but you also have fun doing it every time. I did that with Baker Hughes, and I did that with the Gun Club. Contractors Glass Products, on the other hand, it's kind of a different story with me because you don't exactly enjoy your job that much. Yeah, you may enjoy the pay and everything else like that, but the pay is not as good as what it's supposed to be. And it's one of those jobs you get paid weekly, right? And I'm not really used to a weekly pay. I'm more used to a 2 week pay than weekly pay. So, long story short, several months ago, I found out that the company I used to work for was out of business. Apparently, I found out that it was bought out by Halliburton, which is another oil company. And then I found out about a couple of more months later that Baker Hughes, the company I used to work for, was shut down. And it's been shut down for quite a while. So I had an opportunity. I woke up Sunday. I woke up pretty early in the morning, and I got this rented car over here, and I kept thinking about going to Baker Hughes. I kept wanting to go over there just to see how it looked and everything else like that. So I had the privilege. I woke up around 9 o'clock in the morning, took off about maybe 10 or 11 o'clock from Corpus all the way to Alice, and I had a chance to view the building for the first time since 2012 or 2013. That was the very last time I ever had a chance to see the building. And I tell you, it was heartbreaking for me because, when I got there, when I got to the building, it was a complete ghost town. You go over there, you walk around in that place, and it's just, you just can't believe that this was the place that you worked at. And the thing that was running through my mind for the past few moments was, what happened? What would have happened if the whole DWI thing didn't happen? If it didn't happen at all, I probably would have been still working for the company. I probably would have still been making a lot of money. I probably would have still had a lot of money in the bank. And then, who knows, I probably would have been shut down myself, or who knows, I may have been working for some other company, or I probably would have worked for Contractors Glass Products. So many things were coming to my mind at that point in time when it took place, and it really hit home with me because I wasn't only thinking about myself, I was also thinking about the people that I worked with over there. So there's a few people's names that I want to mention on this episode. A few that have met me in person, and a few that haven't really known me that well. So, the first person I want to think about in this one, I'm going to talk about Miguel Salinas. Miguel, or Big Mike as I like to call him, he's been a friend of mine on Facebook for a while. He worked with me over at Baker Hughes for a while, and I was really glad to know him and everything else like that. He was a very cool guy. I really loved being around the guy. He was also a wrestling fan. He's also seen some of my main event talks, and he really likes the things I say about wrestling and everything else like that, and I really appreciate that. And also to a couple of other guys, I don't think they've ever seen my show, but I think about these guys constantly. I think about my good friend Manuel, who had worked with that company for many, many years and everything else like that, to one of my mentors, Ralph, or as I like to call him, fucking Ralph, to my other good friend Joe, who used to work over there as well, some very great people, some other people in particular that I really wasn't friends with, but I knew who they were and everything else like that, from Ernest, I'm going to say Waldo, who used to work over there and everything, to a couple of people in particular, to some really main people that I'm thinking about at this point in time right now, the ones that really helped me out as far as Baker Hughes goes. The two people, there's three people, but there are actually two people in mind. One is a friend of mine by the name of Juan G. Sanchez, who's known as Dingo. And I had a chance to meet him around 2012, or late 2012, and he was a very, very good guy and everything else like that. He had worked over at Baker Hughes over in Victoria, and then he had transferred over here in Alice. He was a very, very good guy to talk to. I've worked with him a few times, and then all of a sudden, we started becoming a team. We started becoming a whole lot more of a team, which was a good thing because I've always wanted to learn a little bit more from someone with a lot of experience, and Juan Sanchez had a lot of experience with Baker Hughes. He's been through this for a long time now, and I'm very glad to be friends with him on Facebook. He had a baby several months ago. I want to say congratulations go out to him and everything else like that. And I also want to take this time to go ahead and think of two other people, Justin and Cassandra. I know that Justin is friends with me on Facebook, but Cassandra is not. But I just want to take this opportunity to acknowledge them on this episode of the Main Event Talk because Justin was he was this very cool dude that I've met not on Facebook, but over in at Baker Hughes. And I had a chance to team up with him a few times when we were out in the job site. And I had no idea how big of a wrestling fan he was, and I pretty much acknowledged I was a big time wrestling fan myself. And it was just so cool to talk to him about wrestling and think about some of the things like what if this, what if that, and we've always talked about WWE, TNA wrestling, Ring of Honor, and everything else like that. We still keep in contact with each other, not just via text message, but also like through Facebook and stuff like that. So it was very, very cool, and everything else like that. He during the time when I was working there, his wife, who is Cassandra, had a baby, and during that time when everything happened to me, I was gone. She had, I believe, a baby boy or a baby girl. I could be wrong. And saw the few pics that he has sent over to me and everything else like that. And it was very, very cool. But I just want to say on behalf of all you guys, to Justin, to Dingo, to Cassandra, and everybody that's listening to this episode of the Main Event Talk, this talk is dedicated to you guys because when I had an opportunity to go over there and check out what I saw over there, Alice, that Sunday, I have to admit I was very, very emotional because, I never got this emotional when I was working at the gun club, when I stopped working at the gun club. But when I was working at Baker Hughes, it was such a different experience for me. I was finally working at a place where I was making a lot of money. I was working at a place where I was starting to learn. I wasn't really like the fastest person to learn, but at least I understood what needed to be done and everything else like that. And I had a few times off. I had a lot of working time and everything else like that. The thing I will remember the most is all the times that me, Dingo, and Justin had as a team. I always felt that, in my view, we were considered the shield of Baker Hughes, and it was just one of those things that I really loved working around Justin. I really loved working around Dingo. They're two great individuals. They have very, very good experience and everything else like that. We worked well as a team. We did extremely well when we were over there. And I can't begin to tell you how many times I loved getting up in the morning around 5 o'clock in the morning to just get dressed, eat, and then take off for Corpus and head straight over to Alice around 7 o'clock in the morning and get there by 8 o'clock, just to be there to show up to work to what are we going to do? What's the next thing that's going to happen? There were times where we would go ahead, right, and take off and say it's like, say we go home early, right, and we don't get to work about, say, 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, right? You get some time, to rest and everything else like that, and then, you want to be home. You want to be home for a while to rest, but then it's like, you get this gut reaction, like, man, I want to go out there back in the field again. I want to go out there with these guys. I want to do this, do that. And it was one of those cool things, me, Justin, and Dingo would go out there, and we would show up around 2:30 in the afternoon or 2:30 at night to just be over there at Teresa Springs, to go do the job that we have to do, be there for 12 hours. And sometimes, there were times where we were there possibly for 12 hours and we couldn't do anything because of either windstorm or rain and stuff like that there, and we would have to rig down, just to make sure that nothing was broken or we didn't get hurt or anything else like that. There are times where we didn't work and earned our 16 hours, and there were other times where we truly earned our 16 hours out there. And I really I really loved working with those guys, you know. And I'm not going to leave out Manuel. I'm not going to leave out Joe or Ralph because I had a good time with them too. But I really like being around Juan. I really like being around Justin because we were a team. We knew exactly what we were doing. We knew exactly what we had to do. And then by the time the next day rolled around, or by the time when we're done with our shift, we go ahead and we either take off to the trailer and sleep for a bit and then take off to back to Alice, or we go ahead and just say, fuck it, we got our stuff, let's get the fuck out of here, let's go back home and go spend time with our family and everything. And that was such a cool thing to do. So to all you guys that are listening to this episode of the Main Event Talk, to Juan, to Dingo, to you, to Justin, to Cassandra, to everyone, I wish I wish everybody at Baker Hughes knew that I was talking about them, because, I want to thank each and every one of you, because you gave me a learning experience that I'll never forget. And I'm really glad to be friends with you on Facebook. I'm really glad to be friends with you, Dingo, you, Justin, you, Miguel. And it's, like I said, it's such a cool experience, and it was just very, very emotional for me to be there over, seeing how the place looked now. And I was really torn up, because all I kept thinking about was all those times that, like I was talking about, getting up in the morning and heading straight to work and being there for a few hours, and then you leave, and then you leave to a job site here and everything. I just kept thinking about all the times, and I learned so much, and I wanted to learn so much more. But everything happened for a reason, and everything else like that. And like I said, if that DWI did not happen, I probably would have still been working over there, and I probably would have already left, just like everybody else. And it was truly a sad moment, and it was sad to see that building go down, and it was also sad that further out, when you're over in Alice, when you take a right on Cecilia and you go all the way down, and then you head to the street, I forgot what it was, there's this building, another Baker Hughes building, which was the pressure pump, the laboratory over there, that was shut down too. And I had no idea, because I thought that place was still open, but apparently the entire division of Alice was completely gone. There's basically no Baker Hughes at all under any circumstances. And it was just, I admit, I cried about it. I was emotional about it. I just could not believe what I saw. And it's one of these things that I'm straight up honest with everybody about it. And it's just one of those things that kind of make, one side, it kind of makes me glad I wasn't there, but I wish I was, because of the experience, of the love and the respect I have for all these guys for doing what they do. It is the rig life, and I'd love to do that one more time. I am looking, and just to give you guys an idea, I am looking to reclaim my CDL license, and I have gotten some information about getting back into the game, and I am going to get back in the game very, very soon. All I got to do is just get my CDL license back in my hands, and then get the medical card that I deserve, and then whatever place hires the Main Event, I'm going to enjoy this all over again. And it doesn't matter if it's Baker Hughes in Corpus Christi, or Halliburton in Corpus Christi, or any other place in Corpus Christi. I love the experience. It was great, and I want to go through that shit one more time, and I don't care if it takes me a long time to do it. I want to go through this one more time. So again, I want to thank you, Justin. You're one cool son of a bitch, or as Dingo would call you, Juicy J. Oh man, I still remember that, and everything else like that. To Cassandra, you and I have never really met each other that much, but you got a chance to know me a little bit better, and I just want to say thank you, because you played a major role in all this as well. And I'm really happy for you and Justin and everything else like that, and your baby, and I hope you guys are doing a whole lot better. To Big Mike, if you're listening to this as well, thank you so much for helping me out in every way possible. And there were times where I remembered leaving work early, which I shouldn't have, and then you called me to come in the next day, which I did, and we did what we did, and everything else like that. And like I said, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you, and as far as to the rest of the guys at Baker Hughes that are listening to this, well, that are or may not be listening to this, guys, I thank you a whole lot. And I'm just sad that Baker Hughes is no more. And once again, I'm sorry. I still can't believe it. I still think about it to this day. And later on, probably after I get done with this episode, there are going to be some pics that I did take pictures of everything that I saw over there at Baker Hughes. So if you go to my Facebook, go to facebook.com/main event player, and you'll get an opportunity to see those pics right there in front, and show you what I saw. And like I said, it's really hard to look at. I don't expect people to like the pics, but I do expect people to kind of understand that what I saw was, it was too much for me, and it was one of those most emotional things that have experienced in a long, long time. And once again, thank you all very much for that. Right, to all my Baker Hughes crew and everything else like that. Team Baker Hughes. That's what we are. That's what we stand for, and everything. Well, now that we got that emotional jolt out of the way, drinking a Coke right now, just get everything rolling. Let's talk about TLC. Let's talk about what took place last night. And I don't want to cover everything. I know that there were a few matches that I saw. I know Sasha Banks had won over Becky Lynch. I know that the New Day and the Lucha Dragons and the Usos had one hell of a triple threat match, a triple threat ladder match for the WWE Tag Team titles. And, it was, I didn't see it, but I heard it was just a tremendous match to watch. Alberto Del Rio, of course, regained the United States Championship against the Real American Jack Swagger. That took place also. And let's see, what else took place? The Divas matchup. I know Charlotte retained her title. Let's not talk about any of those things. Let's talk about two of the matches that I want to talk about the most. Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens. And I'll tell you something. First of all, I'm very, very happy that the WWE have decided to now allow Dean Ambrose to win the Intercontinental Championship. And I've always felt, and this is the truth, and I think I said this from the beginning of one of my episodes of the Main Event Talk, I felt that Dean Ambrose should have been the Intercontinental Champion and not Daniel Bryan. Now, most of you guys that remember, Daniel Bryan was a part of the ladder match that took place at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship this past, few months ago. And he did win the championship. And then, sure enough, after he won the championship, Daniel Bryan was hurt, and he had to relinquish the Intercontinental Championship, which left the title open. And I just kept hoping for Dean Ambrose to be the man to win the Intercontinental Championship, and it did not happen. But tonight, or actually at TLC, Dean Ambrose finally became the Intercontinental Champion by defeating the prize fighter Kevin Owens. And I'll tell you, I looked at the match. I saw part of it on YouTube, and I saw part of it on Facebook as well. Let me tell you, first of all, I'm really, really happy that the match was good. It was tremendous. Everybody, that was a Camaro, by the way, that just passed by. Just to give you guys an idea. Yeah, it doesn't sound like my Mustang, but it'll do. But anyways, the whole matchup with Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose was such a tremendous deal. Even I admit that I thought that Kevin Owens was going to win the Intercontinental Championship, but I was leaning more towards Dean Ambrose. I still felt that Dean Ambrose deserves a shot. He needs it. It has to happen. And sure enough, a roll-up, 1, 2, 3. Dean Ambrose, for the first time in his career, becomes an Intercontinental Champion, and I'm really, really glad that it took place. Congratulations go out to Dean Ambrose, the Lunatic Fringe, for becoming the Intercontinental Champion. And like I said before, I personally felt that Dean Ambrose should have been the one to win the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. He should have been the champion, not Daniel Bryan. I have said that many times before, and I'm saying it right here, right now. If it was Dean Ambrose, I guarantee you he would have held on that championship for a long time. And I bet you $1,000,000 that if he were to face off against Kevin Owens at TLC, I guarantee you it would be Kevin Owens who would become the Intercontinental Champion and not Dean Ambrose. But it is what it is. Dean Ambrose is a new Intercontinental Champion, and Kevin Owens is definitely looking to retain the Intercontinental Championship at the hands of Dean Ambrose. Now, it seems like all of a sudden things are starting to change in this whole crazy sports world revolution. Yes. Let's talk about it for a second. We talk about this whole divas revolution. We talk about how women are taking over, pretty much dominating sports, from Ronda Rousey, being undefeated and everything else like that. And then, of course, we know what happened there and everything else like that. Then, all of a sudden, we get the Irish. We get the Irish coming in and taking over the sports world. And a big example of that is Conor McGregor. He went ahead and won. I believe it was 15 seconds. He won over Aldo and became the champion and everything else like that. So I said to myself, what happens, since the Irish are pretty much taking over sports somehow, I think, it's going to be a little bit fitting if Sheamus were to hold on to the championship, were to retain the championship and everything else like that. And sure enough, that's what happened. Sheamus went ahead and retained his WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and with the help of the League of Nations, by the way, about the new group that's happening right now with Sheamus alongside with the United States Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio, the Bulgarian Brute Rusev, and then of course King Barrett. They comprise of the League of Nations, a new group that's happening in WWE right now. And I tell you, Roman Reigns was in a very frustrating mood. I did not see everything about what took place at the end of the pay-per-view, but let me kind of give you an idea of what's going on, because when I was on my Twitter and on my Facebook and on everything else like that, I've been hearing that Triple H got brutally attacked at the hands of Roman Reigns, and I'm like, really? How the fuck did that happen? So sure enough, I go to my Facebook and I'm looking at these videos and I'm seeing Triple H literally getting his ass handed to him at the hands of Roman Reigns. And let me tell you something. This is the truth, whether anybody likes it or not. If you agree or disagree, that's fine. But I gotta say, Roman Reigns needed to do that. He needed to do that badly. And more importantly, not only did he need to do it because of the sake of his career, he also needed to do it for the sake of the fact that for the past few weeks, if not longer, WWE has pretty much been losing their viewership and have been losing a lot of people because of some of the shitty things that we've been seeing on Raw in the past few weeks. So, did Triple H need to get attacked at the hands of Roman Reigns? Yes, he needed to. For several reasons. Number one, obviously to set up something between Triple H and Roman Reigns, and it could happen at WrestleMania. I'm not saying it is, it just looks like it is. So Triple H gets brutally attacked, gets killed, gets destroyed in every way possible. I've never seen Triple H beaten up so bad since Brock Lesnar. That was just a brutal attack. And you know what? There's some people that may like it. There may be some people that didn't like it. In this case, for me, I'm going to say, you know what, Roman? Hey, you did it. You went ahead and you decided to kick the boss's ass because he got screwed over, and bam, that's exactly what you did. You went in, hey, you didn't win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, but you gotten the attention of the boss completely. And immediately after TLC was over, here comes Monday Night Raw. And everyone has been concerned about what was going to happen. Will Triple H show up? Will Stephanie McMahon show up? I had a feeling that Stephanie McMahon was going to go ahead and show up. Because, you got to make the scene where, Triple H is really hurt, arms busted, guts destroyed, and making all these phony excuses for Triple H about how he's hurt and all this other crap. And then Roman Reigns shows up, and then he gets slapped about 50 million times by Stephanie McMahon. And is it just me, or are Stephanie's slaps weak than usual? Yeah, Am I the only one that has noticed that? But anyways, the big shocker of that night was the fact that all of a sudden Stephanie McMahon had announced that the chairman of the board, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, was going to be making his appearance on Monday Night Raw. The last time that Vince McMahon had made an appearance at WWE Raw was over 1 year ago, when Vince McMahon had made an announcement about setting up the Authority against Team Cena, and if the Authority loses, they would no longer be in power. That was over a year ago when that took place. Now, here we are, 1 year later, and Vince McMahon comes out for the purpose of defending his son-in-law, which is Triple H, and also, and let's also call it like we see it, the fact that he was pretty much there to increase the ratings, to bring everything up, because as I said before, the viewership had totally sucked. I mean, I heard, I was reading through some stuff about how everything was a 3.0 to a 2.9 and everything else like that. They were, suffering so badly. So they had to go ahead and bring out the boss, and the boss was just being the boss, coming out there and just doing what he can. He wanted to call out Roman Reigns. He calls out Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns comes out, goes face to face with Vince McMahon and everything else like that. And then I keep thinking that I was going to witness a spear happen to Mr. McMahon. I wanted that to happen very, very badly, just to increase the ratings in every way possible. But instead, something else was afoot. Here's Sheamus, right? Here's Sheamus coming down the aisle, right? And he's basically like throwing himself out, and he wanted to fight Roman Reigns in the middle of the ring on behalf of the McMahon family, because Roman Reigns said that the McMahon family are, what was the word that he used? I think it was they're a disgrace. Well, let me make something point clear as far as the McMahon family goes. Mr. McMahon is not a disgrace. Shane McMahon is not a disgrace. Stephanie McMahon, well, we can say disgrace or not disgrace depending on how you guys see it. Of course, Triple H, I'll put him in the same category as well. Either way possible, Roman Reigns said what he said. So, all of a sudden, Roman Reigns gets an opportunity for the WWE Championship thanks to Mr. McMahon. He didn't want to give it to him at first, but he went ahead and gave it to him, and then Roman Reigns, went ahead and called him an old man, and, said you're 70 years old, and you got shriveled up old prunes and stuff like that there. And then Mr. McMahon decided to go ahead and give him an opportunity at the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and then mention that if you lose this match, you're fired. And immediately I was like thinking, maybe there's a setup here. Maybe Roman Reigns won't win the title, and maybe they'll just keep Roman out of the spotlight for a while and then somehow bring him back. That's what I was thinking. But I think the possibility, I kept thinking, what if he's going to win the championship? I mean, what if it actually happens? If they do it, they're going to do it for the sake of the fact that they need to bring the viewership up, and they need to get the eyeballs right back on Raw, because they're starting to lose their audience in a very huge way. And they had no choice. They had no choice but to do what they had to do. So, here we are at the end of the night. Roman Reigns gets an opportunity to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship as he takes on Sheamus. It was a fight to the finish and everything else like that. Of course, the League of Nations was out there interfering in the match. The chairman of the board was sitting right next to Michael Cole and everything else like that. Just witnessing the matchup left and right and everything else like that. And I keep thinking, there's no way for Roman Reigns to win the title, right? I was thinking that. So here I am watching Vince McMahon, just watching the matchup and everything else like that. The referee gets pulled out by Vince McMahon. Yeah, I kept noticing that a few times, and it's typical McMahon fashion, comes in, pulls out, and hides the referee. And it's one of those, you notice that Mr. McMahon, I mean, just the way he pulled the referee and just the way he grabbed him is like, he's not grabbing him like he's holding on to the ref like he used to do that back in the Attitude Era. This was a completely different, it's like Mr. McMahon didn't give a fuck. He was like, you know what, I'm going to pull the referee and I'm just going to go ahead and hold on to him and not let him see. Who gives a rat's ass? And I think that's what Mr. McMahon was doing, and it didn't look like he was showing any kind of effort in any way possible. which is okay because he's the boss. As long as everybody gets a chance to see the boss on television, everything is okay. So at the end of the matchup, Roman Reigns goes ahead and decides to super punch or do a Superman punch on Vince McMahon, which I was hoping for a spear, but in this case, it's better to get a Superman punch, because if he would have gotten a spear from Roman Reigns, I think, with all due respect to the boss, Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, he would have gotten killed hugely at the hands of Roman Reigns. So after that super punch, I remember one point in the matchup where Alberto Del Rio, I don't think King Barrett was there. I know that Alberto Del Rio and Rusev were there, and they interfered in the matchup as expected in every way possible. And then it seemed like Sheamus was about to win the WWE Championship once again and beat Roman Reigns in the middle of the ring. 1-2 with a brogue kick, and then Roman Reigns kicks out. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, are you serious? You're not going to tell me that this dude is going to win the title. So sure enough, one spear, 1, 2, 3, for the first time in I don't know how long, the WWE Championship finally changes hands on Monday Night Raw. And Roman Reigns becomes the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And you know what? I'm going to applaud that. I'm going to applaud that, because that is something that needed to happen on Monday Night Raw. Because like I was saying earlier, we're talking about the viewership. We're talking about the fact that nobody's really watching Raw because of the ridiculous things that we've been seeing on Monday Night Raw in the past few months. Now, I know that there are some people that would rather see Seth Rollins come back and everything else like that. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing Seth Rollins myself. But the thing is, he's injured, and there's nothing he can do about it and everything else like that. So now you got to put Roman Reigns, you got to give him the title. You know, and believe it or not, and this is the truth, whether anybody likes it or not, 2015 has pretty much still been the year of the Shield. Think about it. 2013, or 2014 to be exact, was still the year of the Shield, because at that time, the Shield had dominated WrestleMania. The Shield had dominated Evolution not once but twice. Seth Rollins breaks away from the pack, and Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins had started getting tremendous matchups while Roman Reigns was trying to get up in the ladder in WWE. And then here's 2015. Seth Rollins had competed in many great matches, including winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship by cashing in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. He did that. He had his matchup with Brock Lesnar. He had his matchup against Sting. He had his matchup against John Cena. He had his matchup against Dean Ambrose. And everything else like that. You can't say that Seth Rollins did not have a great year, because he did. Dean Ambrose, the same could be said about him. He had some great matches with Seth Rollins. He had some great matches with Bray Wyatt. He had a tremendous ladder matchup that took place over at WrestleMania. And then he wins the Intercontinental Championship for the very first time in his career this year. And the funny thing about all this, about Dean Ambrose, was he was the United States Champion 1 year ago, and then all of a sudden 1 year later, he becomes the Intercontinental Champion. So, which is good for him. And then, of course, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was going to be the hottest thing going, and everyone booed the shit out of him because he won the Royal Rumble in that same arena where he wins the WWE Championship for the first time in his career. Roman Reigns had main event at WrestleMania, went up against the top dog in Brock Lesnar, had went up against, the Big Show, and, many other matches possible. And it was good to see Roman Reigns become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So if anybody's going to bitch, whine, moan, and complain the fact that Roman Reigns is the champion, here's the thing, guys. You need to understand this. You need to stop bitching. You need to stop whining. You need to stop moaning. And you need to stop complaining, because regardless of whether you like it or not, you're still going to watch Raw. You're still going to be glued to that television set. You're still going to go ahead and start bitching, whining, moaning, complaining on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and everything else like that. And you're still going to be watching Monday Monday Night Raw, and you're going to understand that Roman Reigns is now the man. He's now a two-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. If you're going to go ahead and do all those things that I tell you, you do that, okay? You bitch, you whine, you moan, you complain, but we have a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and his name is Roman Reigns. That's all you have to know. Once again, one of my most famous promos being done right here on this episode of the Main Event Talk. Thank you very much. So, with that being said, that's going to do it for this edition of the Main Event Talk right here on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and turn in and upload this video and everything else like that. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/maineventplayer. You can also follow me on twitter.com/@maineventplayer. Follow me on Instagram and check out some of the latest pics that I've posted from the event TLC, and also from the event this past Monday night on Monday Night Raw, where Roman Reigns becomes the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So much is going to happen, including this coming Thursday night. We're going to see what happens, the aftermath of what took place at TLC and the aftermath of what took place on Monday Night Raw. You know, find out what happens on SmackDown. And also to give you guys, the wait is finally over. January 27th, Lucha Underground returns to the RAW network, and it's also going to feature one of the greatest luchadors of all time. This man was a former World Heavyweight Champion, former Tag Team Champion. I believe he was a United States Champion, Intercontinental Champion, one of the greatest cruiserweights of all time. He was also a man that was part of WCW back in the day. I'm talking about the legendary Rey Mysterio Jr. He's going to be a part of Lucha Underground, and the Main Event cannot wait for that. Also, besides him, you're going to see others like Vampiro. You're going to see others like Cage. I think it's Johnny Cage. I think that's his name and everything else like that. Of course, we got Johnny Mundo, the rock star, if you will. Of course, you know Alberto Del Rio's not there, or El Patron, if you will, is on WWE now, so you don't have to worry about him being on Lucha Underground. You're going to see Prince Puma come out. You're going to see Ivelisse. You're going to see all of these great luchadors and everything else like that. And I'm telling you, I am so psyched for 2016 when Lucha Underground returns Wednesday, January 27th on the RAW network. It's going to be a fucking blast. And as you guys know, Impact Wrestling is moving from Destination America to, I believe, Pop TV. Now, believe it or not, I do not have Pop TV, and quite frankly, I'd love to know where I can pop someone to get my hands on Pop TV just to see what's going to happen in Impact Wrestling, because we're down to the last and final 4 individuals to become the undisputed TNA World Heavyweight Champion. We got Ethan Carter III, EC3. We got Matt Hardy. We got Bobby Lashley. We got Eric Young. One of these 4 individuals is going to walk out the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Who will it be? We'll all have to find out next year on Impact Wrestling as it goes to Pop TV. And also, Ring of Honor Wrestling is no longer going to be in Destination America. Well, as a matter of fact, it hasn't been in Destination America for a while now. As a matter of fact, it's on another program entitled Comet TV. And is it just me, or do we got some of the most ridiculous networks I've ever seen? Comet TV, Pop TV, Donut TV, Don Juan Ho TV, Air Condition TV, Ladder TV, any TV that comes around, El Rey Network, El Rey this, Don Juan DeMarco, everything. What kind of fucking shit is this? But anyways, Ring of Honor is on Comet TV. Check your local listings and look for Ring of Honor. And also, besides Ring of Honor, December 18th, coming up this Friday, Final Battle is going to take place live on pay-per-view, and the Main Event is truly looking forward to checking out that pay-per-view. I don't know who's going to have it, but whoever has it, I promise you I'll get a chance to look at that pay-per-view. It's going to be the shit. And also, besides that, I got a lot more. Holy fucking shit. I believe this coming Wednesday, as a matter of fact, NXT TakeOver at WWE Network. take place live in London, England, where we see Finn Balor defending the NXT Championship against the #1 contender, the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe. My God, that's going to be one hell of an epic matchup, and the main event cannot wait for that. We've talked about NXT, we talked about SmackDown, we talked about the RAW Network, we talked about everything. So the main event is officially done from here on out, guys. So once again, thank you for listening to this very special episode of the Main Event Talk. And once again, I want to thank all of my friends from Baker Hughes, who used to work over in Alice. I dedicate this episode to you and everything else like that. I thank you very much for everything that you've done for me. And now all I can do is move on and just focus on the future and everything else like that. And to everyone else, to everyone that's listening to this episode of the Main Event Talk, the anniversary of my show was a couple of weeks ago. I have not had an opportunity to do an anniversary show, but I do plan on doing something like that, hopefully in the beginning of 2016. So be ready for that, guys. So once again, thank you for listening and everything else like that, and I'll see you next time on this next episode of the Main Event Talk. Why? Because I can, and I want to. Any questions? Enough said. Thank you very much, everyone.